Hi guys, welcome back to Bookhaven with me, Kim. I just wanted to do a quick video today to show you what I'm reading in January, so stick around. So we're already almost midway through January and I have got quite a few books read already, even though I didn't have the video because I was sick for a little while. So I'm going to start off showing you what I already read in the first week and a half of this month, and then I'll show you the books that I plan on reading for the rest of the month. And at the end of the month I'll be doing a wrap-up, of course, and there are a few books that I will feature throughout the next few weeks to do a longer interview and talk about them. First, I've got a couple middle grade books that you have seen before on my channel if you have been around here before, and that is Astrid the Unstoppable by Maria Parr. I've been trying to get this read for a couple months now and I finally finished it. This is again about Astrid, who lives in Norway in a small glen, and she has this old curmudgeon for her best friend and she gets up to lots of mischief, and it's a story about some unexpected things that happen. Then I've got the second book in the Percy Jackson series, The Olympians. It's The Sea of Monsters by Rick Riordan. This is about Percy basically trying to save the camp and make it safe again for all the other kids that go to the camp that are half human and have a god for a parent, and all the things that they come across. Obviously from the book cover you'll see there is a cyclops, if not one or more, in this story. Then I've got another couple middle grades, and these I did finish, but I read in the last week and a half or so. I've got A Long Walk to Water by Linda Sue Park and Salvadut. That's basically based on his life growing up in South Sudan and going through the refugee camps in Ethiopia and Kenya. I finished that off. It's very short and quite amazing. I'll be talking about this book in depth next week. Last but not least in the middle grade is a series that was new to me that I am absolutely loving, and that is Keeper of the Lost Cities by Shannon Messenger. This is basically a middle grade about a young girl who has been able to read people's minds since she was 5 years old and had an accident hit her head. And she also has a photographic memory, and she always kind of feels a little bit out of place. Now this isn't much of a spoiler, but she does end up finding very early in the novel that she is actually an elf and that her kind has been looking for her for a very long time. And I've got 3 YA selections that I've been trying to finish for a very long time, and I finally did within the last week. I had a lot of time to read. I was away on a dog sitting assignment, and it was the first time away from my child for a while, and all I did was read all day and night when I wasn't walking the dogs and playing with them. So I've got Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor, and I picked this up because I really enjoyed her book Strange the Dreamer. I loved her writing style. I thought it was very lyrical. So I finished that. I listened to half of it via audiobook and the rest I read. But we'll be talking more about that in the wrap-up. Then I've got Thunderhead by Neal Shusterman. This is the second book in the duology. The first one is Scythe. This one you get a little bit more of the Thunderhead's perspectives. If you haven't heard of this duology before, I highly encourage you to look it up. I'll link it down below with all the other books. But it's an incredible series and one of my favorite of the year. Next is Tower of Dawn by Sarah J. Maas, and this is the second last book in the Throne of Glass series. Very excited that I'm coming to the end of this series. This one doesn't follow Selena, it follows Kale, I believe his name is, and another character, and they go to a different part of the world to sort of rally support and try and get help in the war that is to come against the demons. The next one is Pillow Thoughts by Courtney Peppernell, and this is a collection of poetry, sort of about raw emotions and connecting with your feelings, and I thought it was actually surprisingly good. I don't really read poetry, but I finished this off today and we'll talk more about that later. So those are the books that I've already been able to complete so far in January, and I'll talk about them more in the wrap-up. Now the next 4 books are ones I'm hoping to complete by the end of January, and the first one is Faithful by Alice Hoffman. This is an author I've read before and enjoyed, as I might have mentioned in my previous video. She wrote The Dove Keepers, and I don't know anything about this book. It was a present from a family member who had just finished it and said that it reminded them of me to a T. So I'm very curious to see how that connection is made. I'll be reading this very shortly. Right now I'm about a quarter of the way through this book called East by Edith Patu. I was very excited to find off another booktuber who also really enjoys middle grade. I believe it's a bit of a Beauty and the Beast retelling, multiple perspectives. So far I've been reading from Rose, the main character, and her sibling Nettie, and the father, and also the bear's perspective. This takes place in Norway, which, as you all know, if you've heard some of my previous videos, I will read anything that takes place in Norway. It's my favorite country in the whole wide world. So again, I'm very interested to see where this story takes me. I've got Moon on the Crested Snow by Wabishkig Rice, and this is a story about an Anishinaabe community in northern Canada who loses power. And I believe there's also some sort of maybe dystopian aspect to it, and they're trying to decide what to do because help is not on the way. Very interested to read this. Like I mentioned in a previous video, my dad lives up in the Arctic and has faced similar situations where they lose power and have to figure out what to do because it can take quite a while for help to come when it is coming. And last, I've got The Raven Master. This is My Life with the Ravens at the Tower of London by Christopher Scaife. So this is my non-fiction selection for the month, and I love ravens and very interested to hear about the history of the ravens being in the London Tower. So that is it for my TBR and the books that I'm reading in the month of January. So that's all for today. Thanks for joining me. If you've read any of these books, I'd love to hear your comments or your perspective on the story down below. Until next time, keep reading. Bye for now.